Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're doing our second Neighbors in the Know, Friends of Bachman Lake, along with the Bachman Northwest Highway Association. Is very happy to introduce and have as our first guest the Dallas Department of Parks and Recreation. Today, we're going to be getting updates about the Recreation Center remodeling, the work that is being done in terms of the Aquatic Center, as well as the skate park. This is the first skate park in the city of Dallas that is being planned to be implemented at Bachman Lake. We will hopefully have time to get an update on the QT trailhead and the work that is being done at the Lamon Northwest Highway intersection. And finally, understand a little bit of the Bachman Greenbelt nature trails and what the timing might be of that, as well as the work that will entail. So to kick it off, Louise, would you like to introduce your team, or do you want to go straight into presentation? How would you like to do this?
I'll introduce my team. Louise Elam, Assistant Director over Planning and Design in the Park Department. And we have several planning group members here to present their projects. Mahbooba Khan, who will do the Bachman Rec Center, David Mills on the Bachman Aquatic Center, Leon Lim and Richard Stoffer here for the Bachman Skate Park. We've got Lauren Montgomery, who's representing Quick Trip to talk about their station, and Jared White, who was instrumental in putting the presentation together that you'll be seeing, who will be talking about Bachman Greenbelt Trail. So I'm going to hand it off to Jared. He's going to be running the slideshow, and Mahbooba Khan will be the first presenter.
Great. Thank you, Louise. Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Jared White with the Planning and Design Division at the Park and Recreation Department. And as Louise mentioned, we're going to discuss a number of topics this evening, and we're going to have different speakers for each one. We're going to have the project managers speak about their own projects. The first one being the Bachman Recreation Center, and Mahbooba Khan will be taking that. So Mahbooba, if you'd like to begin, please. I'm sorry, real quick, just for orientation, this is the location of the various projects, just so you can see where they're distributed around White Rock Lake. So again, first up will be the Recreation Center, kind of on that northwest corner of the lake.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Mahbooba Khan. I'm a licensed architect and serving as a Park and Rec Department project manager on the Recreation Center renovation scope of the project. This project is a 2017 bond-funded project. The overall fund is $3.9 million, which includes the soft cost and all sort of management cost and the construction both. The scope involves exterior renovations, restroom renovations, and upgrading them as far as ADA compliance, flooring replacement in the main entrance area, and control area renovation, which is the reception desk. When you enter the rec center, there is a long reception desk. We are going to renovate that. There is pool, restroom, plumbing. There are two more areas that are not listed here: break room renovation, and also there will be some upgrade in the multi-purpose room. We have already done some work like pool, restroom, plumbing repair, and the gym HVAC upgrades from this money. Currently, we are finishing up the mold abatement of the project. There was a lot of mold, and that's being abated before the rebuild is done. So we started the construction last month. The demolition was done before, and then we got the permit and restarted the construction on June 29. And the expected construction completion date is November 2020. Next slide, please. So to give you some background of this rec center, this rec center, Bachman Rec Center, serves a large population, including the special needs adults and children both. So people from different parts of Dallas come here for this service. This rec center has an adjacent playground which is also accessible. So this canopy that you're seeing in this rendering is existing, but we are going to update that with new soffit, lighting, better signage, so it can be seen from a distance and is more appealing and easier for you people to use. The front doors were not had some problems, so we are replacing the vestibule and the sliding doors. Next slide, please. This slide kind of describes the plan of the entire rec center minus the swimming pool. The area of renovation mainly is on the left-hand side where you see the blue and the yellow lines. We are renovating both set of restrooms in this area, making them ADA compliant, wider, and also we are doing some work in the break room, like upgrading the cabinetry, and also some painting and refreshing in the multi-purpose room. The gray portion in this area that you're seeing is the flooring, which was very dated and had asbestos. We already removed all of that and will have a very fresh new look in this entrance when you enter the building. New reception desk, new flooring. Next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier that we're going to have a new reception desk. So this reception desk will be refurbished to give it a new look, and we'll also address the COVID-19 concerns to have a plexiglass in front of it and things like that. As you can see, on the right-hand side, there are a set of restrooms. In the design concept, we incorporated the color coding. So each set of restrooms are coded with a color like blue or yellow, so the special need people can know where they are in the building and which set of restrooms they're going to. And the man and the women sign is very prominently done, so nobody gets confused. Next slide, please. This is another view of the same set of restrooms. Next slide. This is the other set of restrooms which are next to the multi-purpose room, and we will also install new water fountain, which will have a water cooler, which is not displayed in the rendering. I'm sorry, a water filler, bottle filler. Next slide, please. So that was all of the renderings for the renovation center, renovation of the recreation center, and as I mentioned, our completion date is expected November of this year, and the new aquatic center will be attached with the existing rec center towards the pool side. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Mahbooba. If anyone has any questions, we'll be taking those at the end of the presentation, so make sure to jot them down, or we can enter them into the comment section, and we'll make sure to address those as soon as we get through the rest of the presentation. Up next to speak about the Bachman Aquatic Center is David Mills.
Good evening. My name is David Mills, and I'm the project manager for the Bachman Aquatic Center with the City of Dallas Park and Recreation Department. This first slide shows the location of the new aquatic center. It will be immediately west of the recreation center. Next slide, please. Just a little bit of background on this project and Dallas Aquatics in general. In 2013, the City of Dallas Park and Recreation Board adopted the Aquatic Facilities Master Plan, and that master plan included recommendations for the construction of swimming pools and spray grounds throughout the city. The 2017 bond program, which was approved by the voters of Dallas in November 2017, allocated funds for aquatic projects, including the Bachman Aquatic Center. The Aquatic Master Plan identified 3 different sizes of aquatic facilities: regional, community, and neighborhood. Bachman is considered a regional aquatic facility, which is the largest of the 3 sizes. After the Bachman Aquatic Center is complete, Dallas will have a total of 4 regional aquatic centers. The other 3 are Crawford, Fretz, and Samuel Grand. The Bachman Recreation Center is unique in that it's the only recreation city in the city that has an indoor pool. The location of the existing pool on the west side of the building and a largely open area on the site were the key factors in determining where the new outdoor aquatic facility needed to be located. Next slide, please. As far as features, the Aquatic Center will include a children's activity pool, a lazy river, a lap pool, 2 slides, shade structures, landscaping, and a bathhouse building. Next slide, please. So the bathhouse building is on the north side and fronts the parking lot. It will include ticketing, an operations office, a first aid area, lifeguard room, concessions, a party room, and this party room can be accessed from the outdoor pool deck or the existing indoor pool, men's and women's toilet rooms, family changing room, pool storage room, and a pool filtration equipment room. The children's activities pool is immediately visible once a visitor passes through the entry breezeway. It's the square pool that you're seeing located somewhat in the middle of this slide. This pool is only 12 inches deep. It has a 0 depth entry, so no steps, and a kids' play structure in the center of it. There'll be spray features and slides on that children's play feature. To the left of the children's pool is a 4-lane lap pool. This pool is 42 inches deep in the shallow end, and it's 11'9" at the deep end. The deep end will allow for starting blocks for competitive swim training and a 1-meter diving board. The lap pool also has a drop area for one of the 2 slides. The other slide will have a run out rather than drop into the deep water of the pool so as to appeal to all users. There will also be a climbing wall in the deep end of this pool, and there'll be a lift available to allow for accessible access. The lazy river is on the south side of the facility. It's 42 inches deep. It's about 200 feet in length, and there are 2 features attached to the lazy river: a crossing activity and an alcove with an underwater bench. The lazy river will also have a lift for accessibility. The volume of water for all 3 of these pools is 230,000 gallons. Surrounding all 3 of these pools will be lounge furniture, picnic tables, umbrellas, and shade structures. The large shade structure between the children's pool and the existing natatorium, which is what you're seeing in orange, is 20 foot by 30 foot. It'll have 8 rectangular picnic tables underneath it. There are cantilever shade structures with chaise lounges adjacent to the lap pool and also to the lazy river. Those are also indicated in orange on this drawing. There will be umbrellas with picnic tables. They're also represented as circular dots around the perimeter of all 3 pools. So there'll be landscaped areas within the fence. Grassy areas will provide opportunities for lounging on towels and places for kids to go and play. Next slide, please. So here are some images of amenities planned for Bachman. All of these images that you're seeing are from the Dallas pools, which opened in the last couple of years. Bachman will have 2 slides and climbing wall at the lap pool. That's what you're seeing in the top left image. The lap pool will have starting blocks and a 1-meter diving board. The lazy river, which is on the bottom of this slide, is about 200 feet long. It'll have a water current within it that will propel users around the pool. An offshoot of the lazy river is the crossing activity, and that's indicated in the top right image. The crossing activity provides a strength and agility challenge for older kids, and there are 6 floating pads with a rope net above it, which makes for a fun activity for kids. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, there'll be shade structures around the pool for picnicking and lounging. The image in the top left is an image of one of those 20-foot by 30-foot group pavilions. The children's pool is a shallow pool, 12 inches deep. That's the image in the top right. And it features a big play structure in the middle of it with slides, water spouts, and cannons, that type of thing. And Bachman will have a lap pool with 4 lanes, starting blocks. It'll have a climbing wall and furniture on the deck surrounding it. Next slide, please. So this is an image of the entry side of the Aquatic Center. The new bathhouse will connect to the existing building. The 2 large windows that you're seeing on the left-hand side of the image are the existing windows into the indoor pool. There'll be 2 colors of brick used on the exterior. One will match the existing building, and the other will be a darker contrasting color. High windows will provide natural light into the locker rooms. Next slide, please. So this is a view from the pool deck to the bathhouse. On the right side of this image is the existing building. The design includes 2 large aluminum and glass roll-up doors, which will allow for a connection between the new aquatic center and the indoor pool. So if someone wants to swim but get out of the sun, they could use and have access to the indoor 5-lane lap pool. A breezeway serves as the entry portal, which is the opening that you're seeing somewhat in the middle of this image. There'll be a ticket window and gates. To the right of the breezeway in this image is the operations office, concessions, and the party room. To the left of the breezeway are the toilet rooms, lockers, pool equipment storage, and a filtration equipment room. Next slide, please. So as far as the schedule goes, we intend to begin construction in September of this year. We're currently working through the permitting process. Construction completion is expected to be May of next year with an opening on Memorial Day weekend, if all goes well. The City Council awarded the construction contract on June 24th, and the construction budget is $7,158,650. So we're excited to complete the 4 regional aquatic centers with the Bachman Aquatic Center. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And up next to speak about the Bachman Skate Park will be Richard Stauffer.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, the Bachman Lake Skate Park here is location hasn't been established yet. That's just sort of a tentative location just to show where amenity may go. But we're entering into a professional service contract for the design, and we should have the contract approved probably this fall. So part of the contract is for the consultant to coordinate with the Bachman Lake dam design team that's hired by Dallas Water Utilities. They're going to evaluate the various locations out at the lake and take a look at the type of constraints with respect to the dam, floodplain regulations, and identify a suitable location for the place. It's we're also going to have to, include consideration and collaboration with other city entities to accommodate flooding that exists at Bachman Lake. And what we're looking at here is to establish, a regional and a national type of draw. owing its proximity to Dallas Love Field Airport and the other prime amenities of the city. We also have, as you know very well, we have DART access there. So it's one of the good things that we have going for us there with the park. We're looking at doing somewhere 30,000 plus, maybe 75,000, depends if we can get it, square foot, permanent poured in place concrete park. And we're looking for features that are going to be suitable not just to the higher end type of pro skaters, but to all levels of skating. We want people to feel very confident and very good with being able to go out there and take their children, and for kids to know that they can go out there and skate and have what we call good flow patterns, to where they're not going to be colliding with other heavy type of users. And also be looking for this to be able to attract community contests and events, for the skate park to contain either a signature element or signature elements that are specific, to the characteristic of Bachman Lake and to the park itself. And like I stated, we're going to have multiple modes of transit there, including DART, and we have our trail at the lake too that can bring people to it. And also for nighttime, we'll be looking to have appropriate lighting so we can do skating at night, help avoid the heat. And also to have benches and shade type structures out there for everyone. And our bond fund allocation for this project, as you can see there, is $4 million. We're going to be working within that to help develop this park. And so is there any questions on that?
Yeah, if there are any questions, please type them into the comments section and we'll address them. We just have a couple more speakers to go and we can address those, any questions you may have. Okay. Thank you, Richard. So up next to speak about the trailhead at the Quick Trip facility will be Lauren Montgomery.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Lauren Montgomery, and I'm a consultant for Quick Trip and have been working on this project, this store in particular, now for a little over a year. And everybody, I think, is pretty familiar with the location. And Jared, thank you for noting it out there on the slide. And if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide, that would be fantastic. We are in the process of working through permitting for both the trailhead related improvements and the Quick Trip store related improvements. We are expecting to have all of that process complete by the end of this year, early next year, and with construction scheduled to start on both the store and the trailhead improvements in 2021. I know there were some questions that I received prior to the meeting tonight starting about the sidewalk underneath the bridge and what that eventual width would be. We are planning to basically remove and replace the existing sidewalk. And it will end up being actually 8 feet wide, and it will kind of cantilever out over the water surface of Bachman Lake. And there will be a handrail there as well. We're working through the lighting under that, and we know it has to be lit. We're just kind of working through the elements of the lighting and figuring out how to get the lighting down there. There were some other questions about, would the Dallas Streets Department be involved in any of these reviews? From a street perspective, no. Transportation will have to approve access points, but we have had those conversations several months ago and have really kind of fleshed, I think, all of those issues out to date. The plans do have to be reviewed by the Sustainable Development, Private Development Engineering Department, and those reviews are underway as well. So we are excited to get this project started. I know it's been a long time coming, and we just appreciate all of the input from the community, and we're excited to provide some really fantastic signage out there and hopefully some great improvements that will really aid in folks using the trail.
I don't know, Lauren, did you have any comments regarding, I'm sorry, I didn't advance the slide, regarding the site plan? that's up on the screen now?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think everyone's pretty familiar with it. And this is obviously kind of where the store will be built, and then this is the shared parking, the parking for the trailhead here. And then you can see the trail winding down, and then it will eventually go under this direction, under the bridge.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
Thanks. So our final item tonight is kind of a look at things to come regarding the Greenbelt Nature Trail that's proposed. We're talking about the area that's kind of near the Quick Trip area, the large greenbelt that's to the east of Lemon Avenue. And so what we're looking at is developing approximately 2 miles of natural trails within the greenbelt itself. And since this is a look at things to come, we're working on scheduling the next community input meeting. We don't have too much information to share, but we're hoping to get this meeting scheduled within the next 2 to 3 weeks where we can delve more in depth into what is being proposed and answer a lot of questions at that meeting. But just kind of general looking at this is an aerial of the greenbelt itself, and these 2 lines, the yellow and the orange, represent possible routes through the wooded area. Again, these are natural surface trails. We're not talking about paving anything. So this is looking at how you could route trails within the greenbelt itself. So there will definitely be some more information to come on that within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So keep on the lookout for that. And I've provided my contact information. We had a lot of speakers this evening, but if you have questions outside of this event, please contact me directly. Then I can send each individual question to that specific project manager and keep those all organized for everybody. And that concludes our presentation. So I'd like to hand it back over to Susanna and the Friends of Bachman Lake, and we can begin answering some questions for you.
Susanna might be attending to some issues here. So this is Michael with Friends of Bachman Lake. And we did have some questions that were sent earlier. We weren't sure if they were going to be sent through the Facebook chat on our behalf or on behalf of the people who did submit them. But one of them has to do with the master plan. And basically it reads as, given all the changes coming to Bachman Lake and the park, and the fact that the Park and Recreation has done and is currently doing master plans for many other parks in Dallas, shouldn't we have one for Bachman Lake Park? Is that an answer?
I think we have a translator for dog.
Okay. So if anyone has anything to add about a master plan for Bachman Lake Park, there's an opportunity now. If not, we can move on to other questions as we get them.
So is anybody from Parks and Rec able to speak to the opportunity for Bachman Lake to get a master plan? And would this master plan help all with some of the designs on either the Quick Trip entrance or the north entrance? So, Hung, are you able to answer the question on the master plan?
Let me try. When Willis took me, Michael, and a couple of trail experts, we walked around the trail and analyzed everything. And from that, we kind of know where the existing, like the pavilion and all these other parking lot, narrow spot, all that. So we came up with a sketch that we use as our master plan, because to do a master plan, have this fancy drawing printed out, it costs a lot of money because of the size of this park, and which we didn't have at the time. So using that in-house drawing, we were able to lay the trail like what you have seen today. So, and we make sure that there's no conflict. And there are some under the flight path, very limited what we can do. And if you look at this map, on the Shawcrest side, it's somewhat limited. The option is not that much that what we can do over there. And so we did make some modification of the trail because as you go down towards the parking on the south side of the airport, it's really narrow. And if you go out there today, you can see that we made some modification to the roadway so that the trail be wide enough and safer to travel. And so we look at all these different things and how much changes we can make. Unless we want to move some of the big items around, I mean, I don't think in the near future we're going to move the rec center. I don't think we're going to move the pavilion. And the airport is pretty much limited under the flight path. The trail is basically is going to be where it is for the foreseeable future. So the only part that we can see was the skate park. And this, we're going to try to figure out where to place that will not be in conflict with the lake and other park amenities that go around the lake. So you can see that the option is very, very limited, what we have. And yes, we can do a master plan. We can hire a consultant, draw up some nice picture, and we can make some proposal to move this and move that. But how long you think it's going to take for us to be able to implement that master plan? Our master plan, usually we use it for about 10 years. So from that standpoint, at this time, I think if we spend the money, I think it's going to be a waste of money. And unless we have somebody want to donate their services, sure, we can go and analyze some of this, try to make it work even better than what we already have. Some of the major changes are, through these years of working along the lake, like the bridge that we talk about, make it a pedestrian bridge on the northeast side, and then depend on what the shape of the dam is going to be, and we try to work out a deal with the DWU to redo the trail on the dam side, and then drive. As you know, some areas are very, very narrow, especially the bridge below the dam is a very, very narrow. And so those are the things I think that we should spend more money on to improve what we have. And another way of looking at it is we can go ahead and do a plan to analyze all these pinch points, all the problematic area, safety issues. We can come up with a list of things that we need to improve on. And then we can try to program it into the next bond program, see how much money we can get and figure it out. To me, there's probably a better use of resources. So, I mean, that's just my opinion. If everybody thinks that we want to do a master plan, usually a master plan in this particular lake is probably cost us at least another $100,000, if not more. So, if we have the money, of course, we can spend it.
Michael, do we have other questions?
We do. See if I can organize them in some logical order, but we do have one from Facebook.
So,
and
Jared, I'm sorry, Michael. Jared, can you stop sharing the presentation? That will allow whoever's responding, hopefully their video is on and they can answer the questions and their video would come up. Perfect. Go ahead, Michael.
So there are a couple, and this may not be able to be answered fully today because it kind of dovetails into the airport issue and their desire for an alternate entrance. So I guess what it boils down to is how is Parks and Recreation collaborating with the airport, or to what extent is Park and Recreation engaging with the airport regarding their plans for another entrance to left field that could be as as much as putting a bridge over the lake itself. So are you providing feedback?
Yes, Jared and I had been invited to every of their meeting, not just the community meeting, but with the designer, with the internal staff, their program managers, and we sat down. We kind of worked through all that, and before they bring out the plan to the community, they usually sit down with us first, and then listen to our feedback and what kind of concerns we have. So our primary concern is that whether it's going to bring more traffic down towards the park, and whether it's going to block our trail, things like that. What kind of conflicts are with? We will bring it up to them, and so as of now, Jared just sent me a map. Like they have like 10 different ideas. We can't just spend time looking at everyone at this point because they're not even sure themselves, what is priority, how they're going to tackle this problem yet. So as we work towards the fewer option, which is more viable option, we will definitely be very, very involved and give them our feedback. And then that's just from park planning and maintenance perspective. And then they will also bring it back to the community as a whole. And then we can hear from the neighbors and see what are the concerns that they have. And I know from the beginning, one of the objection is that the bridge crossing the Northwest Highway is going to take the bridge all the way into the neighborhood. Therefore, some of those property will have to be erased or taken out. And so there are some neighbors that didn't like the idea of their homes or their apartment being taken away. So those are the things that the community need to kind of provide feedback, because that has nothing to do with the park. We will pay very close attention to how it impacts the park.
Thank you, Leon. Michael, I don't know whose phone is causing the sound. Once again, Susanna Brown here with Friends of Bachman Lake. We definitely want to make sure that as a north entrance is being, or an alternate entrance is being considered by the airport, and at this point, all of the options that are being presented by the airport, and I want to make sure the department understands this, are north facing. So all three of the five options are to Shorecrest or a bridge over the lake. Another option is Denton and Shorecrest, and the final one is like Lemon Avenue, and I forget what that little side street is. So we, as a community, and that's why the airport is seeing so much attention in the meetings that they are facilitating, is very much against a lack of community representation on the alternate entrances before a down select occurs. So what we would like to make sure is that the community has a seat at the table to review all 11 options, not that the only options that we have an opportunity to look at are the 5 that are preferred by the airport. Mm-hmm. So as the Parks Department gets requests for input, we need the Parks Department to stand up and also be advocates for green spaces and push back on any options that would take that away from the community. We do not need another high-speed road on, which would be Shorecrest, on the south side of the park. We already have Northwest Highway on the north side of the park that we're working with TxDOT to try to slow down. So Parks Department needs to take, I think, a much more active role in advocating for the community and green spaces in their conversations with Love Field. It isn't just, oh, wait for the airport to come up with their options and then weigh in. You need to help defend green spaces in Dallas. So that's the position of Friends of Bachman Lake.
Okay.
Thank you, Leon.
Thank you.
It's Michael again. As a side note, the Love Field Good Neighbor program has its meeting tomorrow at 6. We'll be posting information for those interested in attending the virtual meeting, because this topic is going to continue and it's going to be big and front and center. So we need all the advocacy we can get. I do have another question. With so many people from all over the region coming to the new Aquatic Center and skate park, where do you plan to have them park? Can you talk a little bit about the parking situation as it is and what it might be?
We kind of briefly touched on that earlier among ourselves, try to, look for the option. I think some of the idea that we bounce around, we are looking for available land if we can get the money and to expand our existing parking lot. And also, there's another option is to utilize the parking lot that's slightly further away on the near the pavilion side, and then we will have shuttle to bring some of the people closer to the skate park and the aquatic center if necessary. So right now it's a little bit still a little bit away from opening, especially a skate park. I don't see it going to be open for in probably in a couple of years. So they'll give us a time to evaluate the parking situation, see actually how much more we need, how much land we can afford, or the timing and all that. So we are working on it. We're looking at all the different options.
And if I can add, this is Louise Elam, that we're also going to be looking at parking as we design the skate park.
Yeah.
Looking at options like parking along the street. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with the mute button. We're exploring all options to make sure there's enough parking.
Another question has to do with trees, and forgive people who might have joined in. Some of this is a little repetitive, but are there going to be any trees cut down, or what considerations have you made for the aquatic center, skate park, or both regarding the trees that might be affected?
Well, this is David Mills. I can speak to the aquatic center. The aquatic center, we will be removing 24 trees to make way for all of the amenities at the aquatic center.
We will be mitigating. We will be providing funds for the mitigation of those trees. And if I could add, we were very careful about minimizing the amount of tree loss that we would have. We're connecting with the existing building, and during the design process, we asked the consultant to minimize any impact on the trees. And we'll do the same thing when we get to the skate park design, that we'll ask the consultant to minimize any impact to trees.
Right.
Another question going back to the parking and the use, the skate park. There is a lot north of Northwest Highway that the airport owns. I guess it's a question. Could the skate park go there? If you can't put it where you think it might be going now, what other options do you envision?
That rectangular property, we already been told by the airport, no, FAA say you cannot do that.
Is that because it's within that runway protection zone or some other reason?
I don't know, because I brought up that question to aviation. I say, is there an alternative location that we can consider if something else didn't work out here? He said, no. In fact, they gave us the criteria. He said the only thing that they can do is some landscaping around it, and some passive area like picnic table, something like that. I think Susanna probably know a lot more about that location. She has been working with them for a while and try to brainstorm some use for that property.
So Leon, they are turning the north portion of that property into
Right.
So there must be a certain amount of space that they're okay with it being a park.
Yeah.
However, I don't know in terms of timing your conversation versus them deciding that, whether one was before the other.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm not. that's not to. I'm not surprised about a question which is taking over that whole entirety of space into
Yeah.
a skate park. I doubt that that would be feasible.
And just to refresh the audience, the tract of land is where the Sam's Club is, just north of the airport. Is that correct, Susanna?
That's correct. It's directly west of the Sam's Club.
So there are approach lights for the runway, the stanchions there. There has to be clearance around that. That runway protection zone is there in the event a plane overruns the runway area so that people aren't injured or worse. So the restrictions that the FAA imposes on that are that people should not be gathering in places like that. So I don't know if a skate park is considered a gathering place versus just passing through or some other use that could be permitted. Believe it or not, a farm is permitted. But the goal is not to have people gather in bunches, and that might be a reason the FAA is restricting that area. But we are getting a little piece of the northern part of that as parkland, I believe.
That's correct. So, David, I had a question as I was looking at the awesome presentation that you did regarding the Aquatic Center and the images that you were showing of some of the other aquatic centers. Some of those slides are very, very tall. Do you have any concerns about getting pushback from the FAA or the Department of Aviation on the height of those slides?
So the slides that you saw on the photographs have a platform level of about 24 feet. The slide that you'll have at Bachman is about 14 feet. So it is lower. There are two slides, however. When we went through the design process, we did speak with the FAA. In fact, we looked at a site that was in the park on the approach end near where this other area west of Sam's is that you just spoke about. And there were concerns about height. So, for obvious reasons, we could not put the aquatic center there. And that was one of the determining factors was height. But we're remote enough that should not, will not be an issue with the FAA.
Thank you. And more than anything, it sounds like it's about 10 feet lower than some of the pictures.
Correct.
Showing.
It is.
Thanks.
There was another question regarding the quick trip, and I guess a mention of possible on-street parking or something about parking along a street. The question is, what street might that be?
I'm not sure I really follow the question. The Quick Trip on its own parks entirely within the property that Quick Trip owns. So Quick Trip does not utilize on-street parking.
Okay, so it might be a reference to a mention of on-street parking that wasn't involving Quick Trip, but this is just a question that had popped up on Facebook.
I think that was probably associated with the aquatic center and skate park. And we were thinking about Webb Chapel extension. That's something we'll be beginning with the transportation department and see if that's something that's feasible.
Okay, that makes a little more sense, but just throw it out there.
So I think we're almost close to wrapping up, aren't we, Michael?
Yep, we are. Unless we get some more questions or other comments. This has been very informative, so thank you all.
Yes, thank you, Parks Department, once again for being our first guest in this event. We're going to be shifting over now to our Spanish version of the session, which will start at 7 p.m. So if you want to practice your Spanish, please join us. You can do this all over again in Spanish. So with that, I wanted to thank everybody that participated, and we were so happy to be able to bring to the community this type of information that's relevant not just to District 6, but District 13, District 2, and even areas further away from that. So once again, thank you. Thank you, Department of Parks and Recreation, for the presentations, for taking the time to translate it into Spanish for our Hispanic community. And we will see you shortly at 7 p.m.